thanks for clicking on this video. In my hand, I'm holding one of the coolest cameras I think I've ever bought, the Insta360 One X2. I'm gonna go over what it's like having this camera, things I loved, things I didn't love, and answer the question of, did I need this? This action camera was released on October 27th of 2020 with an MSRP of $429.99, though now you can find it heavily discounted due to the newer X3. The protruding lenses kind of makes me want to baby this thing. Scratching one of the lenses is going to be a problem to replace, and I like to take care of my things, so I rarely drop them, but you know, on the off chance that I would accidentally do that, replacing it or even buying a new one would kind of be too much trouble. So a little bit about the consumer I am. I don't really travel as much as I want to, nor do I do any very cool action sports. I'll go hiking a bit, but you know, none of the cool things that some people have used this for. Skydiving, kayaking, snowboarding. I wish I could do that more often, but you know, not all of us can do that. So why did I buy this camera? Well, let's find out. I'll go over some of the things I loved first. My favorite thing about this camera is that I can easily capture 360 photos and upload them to Google Maps. I'm an avid Google Maps contributor, and uploading 360 photospheres is my favorite way to contribute. The form factor is also really great. It's pretty much a candy bar that can fit into most of my bags or even my pocket. I always include the additional lens protectors whenever I want to throw it in a bag, so I don't have to worry about scratching the lenses. This is kind of one of the cameras I like to leave the exposure settings on auto. I want this camera to be able to be turned on quickly, and trying to fidget with the settings on the tiny screen or waiting to connect to my phone takes way too long. The waterproofing makes it a really cool camera to plunge into the water and get some really nice perspective shots. I wish the selfie stick had a lanyard on it to be able to attach a strap to. I wanted to take this parasailing with me once, but I was afraid my clumsy ass would drop the camera and would plunge into the depths of the ocean. And the fact that it's a 360 camera is just really cool to me. The kind of footage that it can capture and potential that it has makes me really excited for the future of 360 cameras. I just want to be able to make more out of it since I just sit at home all day on my computer. Now, let's talk about the things I didn't love. First, it's the editing and workflow. Trying to get the shots you need to share on social media or for videos kind of takes a little bit too long for my liking. I know it can be quick, but when you're on the move or driving, it's not something you can share right away. I know there's an AI editor, but I kind of never trusted it to do a good job, and I felt like I could always do it better. Sometimes I want to post something right away, which is super easy if you're recording on your phone, but if you want to grab a clip off the One X2, you have to connect to it via an app, edit the clip, export it, and then you can share. And not all this can be done right away. Sometimes I'll be driving around, trying to navigate to places, lots of things you can't do while you're traveling. These steps are a little bit too bothersome. Doesn't make me want to use it as often when I want to share something quickly. Another thing is the video quality. It looks okay, but at times it's not as sharp as a dedicated action camera or my phone. And I do understand that it is a limitation of the 360 image, capturing only 5.7K. And when you crop in, it's only a bit of that 5.7K resolution. I'm just nitpicking at this point. I'm hoping that 360 camera quality will get better over time. And at that point, I'll be super happy with the image quality. Another thing that I didn't love about it is that the screen is tiny. And it's kind of really only good for selecting the camera mode. Trying to change the exposure settings or making any small adjustments is kind of difficult, especially if you're trying to make some fine tuning. One advantage though is that the smaller screen is less likely to be broken or cracked if you were to drop it, since it's much smaller than that of the X3. So depending on how you use this camera, the screen size can be a big advantage or disadvantage. Another thing that not a lot of people talk about when they say cons about this camera is that I think you look kind of silly when you're holding this chocolate bar in the air. Lots of people are curious and they'll give you and your camera a funny look, but it's not very often that you see one when you're out. So it's either a really cool thing or very silly. Well, those are my thoughts on what it's like owning the Insta360 One X2. It's a really cool camera in my opinion, and I'm all aboard the 360 train. There is a small learning curve when it comes to using this camera effectively, but I do think that this is a really cool camera to have in your arsenal. Well, those are my thoughts on what it's like owning the Insta360 One X2. I think it's a really cool camera, just I'm not cool enough to use it. For the price I paid though, I did buy it a little bit after it was released, so I didn't pay full price, so I don't think I would say it's worth full price even back when it was released. There is a small learning curve when it comes to using a 360 camera, again, especially within the workflows. I think that if you have some money to spare, a 360 camera, not necessarily this one, has a place in your collection. I definitely think it does in mine, though I couldn't warrant upgrading to the X3 because even though my biggest gripe was the camera quality, it didn't get that much better, so I'm hoping later on in the future that it does. At that point, I'll be happy to jump on the 360 train again. But for now, I think this is going to service me pretty well for when I want to get some cool perspective shots. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Insta360 One X2. Leave me a comment below if you want any more questions answered about this, or if you want one yourself, or if this might be your first 360 camera. So to answer the question of, did I need this? Probably not, but yes.